Well, hello and good morning and welcome. Yes, welcome. Welcome, 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 my friends, to the show that never ends. We're so glad you could attend. Please come inside. Come inside. One of the things we're learning is that Zoom has a little bit of a lag factor. So, in about 10 seconds, I'll really start today. But for now, as people are joining, as you're being admitted into the room, as your internet connection is warming up and making it possible, you are going to hear another in our series of Sky Switch webinars. I'm Andy Abramson. I am thrilled to be here today and hope you are too as we dive deeply into the whole idea around something that is so sweet, it's going to make and enhance your call reporting that you do for your customers even better. That's right. We're going to talk all about enhanced call reporting with Cloud Suite. We're going to be joined by Dan Lemke, the president of Daytel, because we at SkySwitch are always looking to bring to you industry leaders who have something that can help improve your business and are a part of the fabric of the reseller community. We've established a really good relationship with Daytel that provides you and all resellers, not just the ones listening in, access to Cloud Suite, which provides integrated, enhanced call reporting that will help you grow your customer base, help you make more money, which we know you all want to do, and also make your life easier. Now, Daytel is not just some Johnny come lately. They've been in the business for 20 years and have created innovative, cost-effective solutions that enable businesses of all sizes to manage their customer interactions in a real single, easy-to-use interface. Dan Lemke is joining us today, and he's going to discuss all of the flexible and highly scalable solutions that Daytel can deliver SkySwitch resellers based upon their cloud-hosted and premise-based models. So let me tell you a little bit about Dan. Dan is the president of Daytel. 20 years ago, they started as a telecommunications consulting company outside of Pittsburgh that helped meet the needs by making of resellers by designing and developing and deploying easy to use, robust, and really affordable telemanagement solutions. Throughout the years, Daytel has continued to lead the way, offering cutting edge solutions for an international customer base. Today, Daytel is going to talk all about their latest offer, which is simply called Sweet, SWEET, which is a nice play on words, Dan, by the way, because it's a cloud-hosted solution that meets the needs of many of the SkySwitch resellers' customers, both large and small. So while Dan's not busy designing and developing and deploying amazing technology, he and his wife and three children get to enjoy the nice cold weather in the wintertime outside of Pittsburgh and the summertime, some of the best weather in the country. We'll also be joined by reseller Seth Berkman. Seth is the co-founder of BT Voice. They're a cloud communications company that delivers, like many of you offer, flexible, cost-effective solutions that make it easy to manage voice services for your customers. So with that, let me have Dan start off and just tell a little bit about Daytel as we dive into everything you need to know that's so sweet.
Wow, Andy, thank you. Wonderful introduction. I appreciate that. So, of course, I'd like to first thank you, of course, for facilitating the session today. We're really excited and certainly looking forward to spending some time here this morning to introduce our partnership with SkySwitch. So really thank you for facilitating and your time here. Also, just a quick thank you to Erica and the rest of the SkySwitch team for helping organize everything. You know, I really do appreciate all your efforts. I know a ton of work goes into putting these together. So thank you for everything you've done and helping me get prepared for the process as well. And of course, to Seth Berkman from BT Voice. You know, Seth and I have had, I've had the privilege of working with Seth on a number of projects now at this point. So I'm certainly very thankful that he's been willing to come on and participate in our session today. So thank you, Seth. For starters, who is Daytel? So for those of you that do not know Daytel or know me personally, as Andy mentioned, for over 20 years, we've been creating telemanagement solutions for our customers worldwide. really these solutions have ranged from very basic call accounting applications all the way up through real-time multi-channel contact center solutions with things such as integrated call recording, web chat, et cetera. So the solutions that we've gone to market with have really been wide ranging, and certainly recently, and we're proud to be announcing the partnership that we've formed with SkySwitch in order to provide an easy to use, cost-effective yet extremely powerful enhanced call reporting application for your customers. We've been creating flexible and scalable solutions, and that's always been very important to us. I'll probably hit on this a couple times throughout the conversation today, but this Cloud Suite solution really is a general business tool, a general business application. It really is not necessarily vertically focused. It's not a vertical, it doesn't necessarily work in any particular vertical industry. Any general business can get value out of this product, as well as any business, large or small. So all shapes and sizes. What we're doing here is going to allow you to manage and make better business decisions, or your customers manage and make better business decisions with the data that we're able to get from the SkySwitch platform. Moving along. So Andy, I should just flip through it.
Just keep going, and I'll pose questions to you, Dan, as I see questions coming from the floor. Remember, everybody, if you have questions from the audience, use the Q&A, not the chat. But I mean, Dan, the whole idea is, we want you to really explain the benefits, the features, because remember, people buy on benefits, sell on features about Suite, and explain why you're able to make the life of a reseller much easier.
Absolutely. Okay. So why don't we talk about the problem and really why we're here today. So as far as the partnership between Daytel and SkySwitch is concerned, we recognize that although the SkySwitch platform provides raw calling data, there really is no easy way for a customer to utilize this data. There's no easy way to get meaningful insight from that data. And quite honestly, that creates quite a challenge for many customers. That's a problem for many customers. And of course, in turn, it's a problem for the resellers. So what we've done is we've come up with the solution to this problem through the product Cloud Suite. And Cloud Suite being an enhanced call reporting solution, it's very tightly integrated to the SkySwitch API. We'll talk through that in a little bit more detail as we go through this. But at the heart of what we're going to be doing with the Cloud Suite product is providing summary and detail level calling metrics through an easy to use and intuitive interface for your customers, so that they're going to be able to better manage and gain key insights from what this data is telling them. Now, it's probably semantics, but I refer to this as call reporting. And when I say that, it's really a combination of two products. Cloud Suite is. It's both call accounting in a traditional sense. It's going to provide inbound, outbound reporting for every extension on the platform. If you want to, you can certainly cost calls. Most customers, of course, aren't so concerned with that these days, but you can still cost calls. We can do account code reporting. We can create different departmental or hierarchical levels where you can aggregate extensions for reporting purposes. So it does everything that a traditional call accounting system does, but it also provides historical call center reporting. And that's because that information is available through the SkySwitch API. So we get a lot of good detailed information as it relates to call center activity as well. And things such as how many calls are presented to a hunt group, how many of those calls are answered versus abandoned, how many calls did Andy answer versus Dan as a member of the customer service team, et cetera. So again, it's call accounting, it's call center historical reporting, all packaged into one solution, and that's Cloud Suite. Now, I talk a lot when I'm talking with resellers or customers that this can be particularly useful for what I'll refer to as the informal call center. And I'll just use Daytel as an example. I think we're a perfect example of an informal call center. If you look at what we're doing, we have hunt groups set up on our phone system. You can call in and you can hit the customer service hunt group. You can call in and hit the sales hunt group, for instance. Now, we don't have a dedicated call center manager. We don't have somebody that's real-time actively managing a wallboard or a dashboard to see how many calls are currently in a queue, or how long they're waiting, or what are the status of the various agents, et cetera. In fact, we don't even refer to these employees as agents. They're simply customer service reps or sales reps, right? I mean, we're very much an informal call center environment. But just because we don't have a need to be able to manage this information from a real-time perspective, I'm certainly very keen on what's happening within those groups or within those departments. I'm very, very interested, for instance, in knowing how many calls came to our customer service help desk in a given period of time. How many of those calls were answered versus abandoned? Are we answering those calls in a timely manner? Are we making our customers wait longer than what we think is appropriate? So these are metrics that I care about. I also care about peak volume. Is there a particular time of the day where we see peak volume, or perhaps a particular day of the week? These get right to the heart of scheduling sort of issues. Are we staffed appropriately, et cetera? And then on the flip side, if you were to take a look at your sales team, for instance, are you able to quantify, for example, the cost of an abandoned call to your sales hunt group? What does that cost? What does a missed opportunity into your sales team cost you? And what if you were able to be notified in a more real-time manner, in a more proactive manner, so that you could in turn then call that particular prospect, if you will, back and see if you could still help them? So these are metrics that, even though we're utilizing them in a historical sense, we are still utilizing them, and we're getting much value out of them. And that's what Cloud Suite's going to be able to provide for your customers. And so we're really, at the end of the day, I'm a big believer that every SkySwitch system should be paired with Cloud Suite. Now, I know we're going to review pricing towards the end of the session today, but you're going to see when we do that this product is very aggressively priced, and we've priced it so aggressively in an effort to assist our reseller community in attaching this to configurations that go out the door. The old model was, let's wait until a customer requests this feature set, and then if they request it, we'll quote them. It'll be a big, expensive opportunity and sale, and we'll go from there. The mentality really has changed with this, and the idea is, let's price it so it's easy to add. There's a ton of value in this solution, so let's make it priced so aggressively that customers, the return and the value can be almost instantaneous for a customer. So we strongly believe that there's a fit for this with every SkySwitch system that goes out the door.
So Dan, as you're doing all this, under the Daytel umbrella, what do you see as the really core benefit that a reseller is able to get from this beyond solving the problem? If you had to pick 2 or 3 key benefits that a reseller can take to heart and then use the features to back up those benefits when they're talking to a customer, what are those 3?
Okay, so, a couple things come, Andy, right to the top of my mind. Number one is, the reality is there are platforms out there that the resellers that we work with are competing against, competitors of SkySwitch, that have enhanced reporting already baked into their platform. So this is a hole, right? This is an opportunity, of course, for Daytel to partner with SkySwitch, but perhaps a hole in the offer that can be addressed by the Cloud Suite product. So now you're able to be on par when you're in these opportunities competing. You have a solution that will fit that need, and I think that's huge. The other thing is, in general, the use for reporting really has changed over the years. Again, we've been doing this for quite some time. Back in the beginning, of course, it was the cost of phone calls that customers were concerned with. The reality is, outside of some professional service organizations, maybe law firms or engineering firms, where they're still, in some cases, billing clientele based on time spent on telephone calls. The reality is most customers today use this more as an employee management or a business management tool, not so much a cost allocation tool. So we have seen significant uptick over the course of the last year with so many businesses being forced to work remotely, certainly because of the pandemic. And, the companies that have forever had their employees all right there in the same building, right? You can walk down the hall, you can look in the cube, and you can see when the phone rings, my employee answers the call and they help that customer. Or my outbound sales team, I can physically see them on the phone making these calls. Well, now they're all at home working, right? Which is only going to increase. The more and more, Andy, I know you're a huge proponent of this, but the more and more that I talk to business owners, a lot of these businesses are realizing that they can function just fine with a distributed remote workforce. So, and oftentimes it works better for them. So this is another tool now that is going to give them that management ability to make sure that their employees are actually doing their job. They're doing what they should be doing. So that's another thing that we've seen a lot lately.
So Dan, with remote work on the grow and definitely here to stay, the whole suite platform lets supervisors see who started making calls at 9:01, who logged in and who logged off at 4:59 versus, oh, they cut out at 4:30 because there were no more calls being made. If they start to see a pattern of people skipping out early, they can call them and then they might find out, gee, they're not skipping out. They're actually doing their end of day work in the last 30 minutes before they punch out at 5 o'clock. I think that the reporting and the metrics, if done properly and presented properly and used properly inside businesses today, are not being used for surveillance or for employee spying, but for employee performance. How many calls did the person make per day? How many inbound or outbound calls did they take if they're a call center person? If it's a support person, what was the average length of time that a customer was on a call? Or maybe you're able to detect how long did someone stay on hold or in queue. And that could be a factor to identify that you need to either staff up or staff down. I mean, if every call is being, or maybe it's a sign that everything's just working and nobody needs support. But again, the data that you're able to generate from Suite in conjunction with the SkySwitch platform is something that enables a business to actually dive in and understand their calling and their staff time as a reporting tool.
Absolutely. And it can be used in just to take one step further, Andy, it can be used for to support an employee as well. So if somebody perhaps just from a sales perspective, maybe they're not quite having the success that they personally want to be able to achieve, or perhaps that the business needs them to achieve, you could start to analyze this data as well, because in a lot of those sorts of positions, the number of phone calls or perhaps the time on the phone with customers is a direct correlation to how they're going to perform in their role. So you can use it for training purposes in that area as well. You're absolutely right. It's not all punitive. And that's certainly not the message that we're trying to get across. The other thing that we've seen is it can bring some peace of mind from a call routing standpoint. We saw a lot of this back, about a year ago now, when everybody sent everybody home at the outset of the pandemic. A lot of configuration changes were being made to phone systems, et cetera. And you could use a product like Cloud Suite to help validate that your calls are actually being routed and directed to the proper people. That was another part of it. So it's just another tool that can help bring some peace of mind that, if these calls need to go to Andy when a customer selects a particular option, we're actually getting those calls to Andy.
What's been the biggest, if somebody came to you and said, Dan, tell me why I need Cloud Suite. I'm quite content with the normal set of data I'm getting. What's your way of convincing them that this is something they should be adding first as a reseller, or then as a reseller overcoming the let's look at the two objections: the reseller's objection to why they need it that you're able to help them overcome so they adopt it, and then what's the biggest objection a reseller may hear from a customer?
Okay, so I guess we'll start with an objection from the reseller. Typically, we're not going to be honest. We're not necessarily going to get an objection from a reseller. in this particular case. And the reason for that, Andy, is, there's really, as we mentioned at the outset, this is, we use the word problem. It's problem might be a little severe. It's a challenge, right? I mean, there's a challenge in that there was nothing filling this need, and it is a need. The need for good metrics, concise metrics that customers can utilize to manage their business was a need, and we fit that need. So there's really not going to be much of an objection at this point from the reseller. It's more an education thing. How can you help me sell it? What tools are available to me to go to market with this? What is the process look like from implementation through training, through customer support? So those, I guess it would be not so much objections as much as hey, Dan, hey, Daytel, how can you help us be successful with this product out to our customer base? That's generally what we would hear from the reseller community. Because at the end of the day, they don't have to add this. That it is an optional product that adds a lot of value, but it is in fact optional. Now, from the customer, the potential, why would they want to go with an enhanced call reporting solution over what's built in? What's built in is going to provide, very raw data. If you needed, for instance, to find a particular phone call, you could do that today. You could do that without Cloud Suite. If you knew the caller ID, the date and the time, perhaps the extension that either made or received the call. If you knew these data elements or components, you could find a particular phone call. But what you're not going to be able to get is the way that this is organized, the way it's very intuitive to interact with it. You're not going to identify trends. You're not going to be able to see when are your busy call volumes. You're not going to be able to see very quickly what was my answer percentage for my customer service team today. You're not going to be able to automate reports. The very vast majority of our customers that we work with, end user customers, they take advantage of the automation components. They don't want, you got all these reports, right? But at the end of the day, they come to rely on a small subset of them. Maybe they come to rely on 2 or 3 reports, and they want to receive them either daily, weekly, monthly, whatever the case may be. So what they'll do is they'll go in and simply automate these to be generated, exported out either to Excel or PDF, and then distributed via email. So the ability to essentially set it and forget it. I know every day when I come in and I turn on my laptop, my report's going to be there. I don't need to go looking for this. It's going to be presented to me in a nice, clean, concise manner, and then I can act on that information however I need to. So that's usually from a customer, usually how we would overcome that objection. If the need was simply to once in a blue moon be able to look up a particular phone number, you could argue they don't need Cloud Suite. But anything beyond that, this is going to add value for them.
That's great. That's really, really good.
So
what I'm hearing from it, Dan, what I'm hearing from you is that from a reseller perspective, they're making things easier for the customer to be able to do things that previously required a lot of work.
That's an excellent way to put it. Absolutely.
Great.
Absolutely.
What's next?
Okay, so next, solution attributes. When we look to develop a product and go to market with that solution, we always keep these 3 pillars in mind and really try to make sure we're hitting hard on these key attributes: simple, flexible, and scalable. First of all, I can run through these pretty quickly, but as it relates to simple to sell, we're going to provide the tools and assistance needed to help our resellers. I already kind of talked about that a little bit. It's certainly our aggressive pricing structure is part of it, but it certainly doesn't end there. We're happy to help with quotes, with demos. We do web demos all the time for our resellers and their customers. So really happy to help there. We have collateral that we can share with you in the form of product brochures, sample report documents, user guides. We have videos. So all of this is available to our reseller community because at the end of the day, we want this, we need this to be simple. We need it to be simple for our resellers. We also need it simple for their customers so they can use the products easily and get the value out of it. At the end of the day, we don't sell direct to customers. We completely sell through channel. So we view ourselves as an extension of our reseller community. Really what that means is I'll be your point of contact. If I can help with anything, please don't hesitate to reach out. We can talk about a particular opportunity. We can set up a web demo for your customer. And however we can help, we're happy to get involved. Now, as far as the installation and simplicity, it really doesn't get any easier. There's really nothing to install. Basically, we just need the domain name of the customer. And then at that point, we can connect through the SkySwitch API, and we'll instantly begin to capture call data. We'll capture that call data. It will be processed into the database. But in addition to the call data, we're also able to sync, and this is extremely helpful. We're also able to sync a customer's extension numbers and names, hunt group numbers and names, and the departments directly from the SkySwitch system. So really what that means, when you give your customer a username and password to log into the application, they're instantly up and running. They don't have to manually configure anything. The call data is already coming across. Their extensions have already been synced in, their hunt groups, et cetera. So they're instantly able to start utilizing the product and getting the value that they're looking for. I'll save simple to use. I'm going to do a demo here in a few minutes, and I think you'll see the product's very easy to use. From a flexibility standpoint, I mean, the Cloud Suite is a solution that, really it's anywhere at any time. So as long as you have an internet connection or an internet connected device, could be a PC, laptop, tablet, cell phone, you name it, you're able to log in and do what you need to do within the product. So it's obviously very flexible, very simple from that standpoint. And then finally, the scalability. I know we hit on this a bit earlier, but again, you just need to know that we have you covered regardless of what industry your customer is in, or how big or small. Again, this is a general business tool. There are different different features that may apply to different types of customers, et cetera, but it can help any customer. As a whole, it's not vertical industry aligned. And we have customers that are very small, a handful of extensions, all the way up through customers with hundreds and thousands of extensions. So it's a scalable solution from that standpoint.
When you look at Suite overall, if you had to pick, some highlights or some benefits that the reseller really needs to understand, they want to walk away. There's a lot of what you've been talking about are the intangibles, like simple, flexible, scalable. What are some of the real hard, tangible benefits that a customer sees when a reseller activates this for them?
Okay, so I guess it's going to somewhat depend on what that customer is first of all looking for. However, when I get involved with a customer demo, I got to be honest. So when we talk about demo, Andy, there's a few things that I'm gonna highlight. We have the digital dashboard. You've got your canned reports, but really the two features that I think hit home and help the customer, the customers find the most beneficial for them, are the Cradle to Grave tool and the ability to automate the delivery of reports. Because what we see typically with most customers is they want to use this product in two ways. The first thing that they want to be able to do is automate those reports. They don't necessarily want to have to log in and find this data. They know that they need to see activity for a particular department on a daily basis or a weekly basis. So they want to set that up and automatically receive that in their inbox every week, every day, whatever the case may be. And then they just want to leave it at that. Interestingly enough, just a real quick side story. We're working with a customer last week that has been a customer of ours for over 10 years. And they called in to our customer service team, and they requested their login and password to the application. And we were laughing about it after the fact, because we were like, you guys have been using this solution and paying to use this solution for 10 years, over a decade now. And you're calling in asking what your username and password is. We don't understand what's going on. And they had told us that when we installed the product 10 years ago and trained them, we helped them set up a couple automated reports. And they've been getting those same automated reports for a decade. And it's every day they get those reports and they use those reports to make business decisions. Well, now apparently they had hired a new employee and they needed to add another email address to the distribution list. So they needed to be able to log in and get that. So the point of that is it's a tremendously popular feature of the product. I call it set it and forget it. It almost becomes a managed service. It just sends them what they need. But if something jumps out at them and they see something and they're, they need to be able to dig in deeper, or maybe they get a request. Maybe there was a harassing call and you need to quickly on the spot find something and see what happened to that from a cradle to grave perspective. From the moment that call came in, every step it took along the way, you'll see, we're going to be able to show you, was the call put on hold? Was it transferred? What was the talk time of the various call links? You can see that in all one view. And that's extremely helpful for customers as well, to be able to track a call through from inception to completion with that level of detail.
That's great. You want to dive into the demo?
Yes, let's do demo. So this is just, I'll just hit demo. So let me switch over here to my demo.
And by the way, everybody, when Dan took me through this last week, it was like, we should just do the demo, because forget about showing slides. Once he showed this, it all became crystal clear how easy, effortlessly, and yet how complete the thinking has been behind Cloud Suite. It's really a very tasty solution.
Yeah, I like the play on the suite there. Absolutely. So yes, it's
well, I'm sugarcoating it for
you. Yeah. So when you log into the application, of course, the first thing that you're going to see here is what we refer to as our digital dashboard. I'm going to walk you through this very quickly, but I do want to mention part of what we offer, because I did not hit on it earlier, is your ability to brand this as your own. As a reseller, you can brand this as your own solution. So basically, instead of it saying Cloud Suite up here, it can have your company logo, or really for that matter, whatever logo you want us to include. So that's part of what we're offering. In addition to it being here, by the way, when your customer schedules a report, again, and we try to encourage at least a daily report to go out, just to make sure that it's always front of mind for customers. When that report gets scheduled and emailed to a customer, your logo will also be on that delivered report. So again, some resellers put more value on that than others, but that's part of what we are doing here. The dashboard, again, is a visual representation of call metrics that will be updated throughout the day. High level, nothing very fancy. They are parameter driven. You can come in here and you can filter out just to show incoming or outgoing, etc. You can also drag these around. So just as a quick example, if I unlock my dashboard, I can move some of these out of the way here. Let me move this one down here too. I'm just going to show you a real quick example. And I could pull this volume by hour up to the top, and then I can come over here and I can make it as large as I want it to be. I'm going to drag that over. And basically what you can do now is you can actually project this up. We've had customers that'll project this up onto a monitor or a TV. Maybe you're managing an outbound sales team and they need to hit certain call volumes throughout the day. Now you can actually watch this. As the day goes along, these metrics will continue to update and you'll actually be able to see if you're on track for hitting those metrics. So that's the idea, high level visual representation of calling activity. From here, you can add, this is very dynamic. I can come in here, I simply say add a widget. It'll give me the option to create a new one, and you would just give it a name, pick the type of widget you want it to be. How do you want it to group? Do you want it to group on a department or a hunk group? You could, any one of those would be options. And then you save it. And once you save it, you can just reload your dashboard and it builds out your display again. So again, nothing too fancy, just a visual representation of calling activity that's updated throughout the day. So that's the first thing. The second thing is the cradle to grave. If I come over here to call history, the second thing I want to show you is cradle to grave. Once again, this is an extremely popular use of the application. So first and foremost, you can obviously change your date range. Very easy to scroll back through. and find, the date range that would work for what you're looking for. At that point, you can group, sort, or filter on any of these column headers. So, obviously, if I wanted to sort based on direction of call, I could click on that. I'm going to sort by incoming, and then I go into outgoing. If I click on it again, I reverse that sort order. From there, you can also group. I really like this. If I were to click on the direction, I can drag this up to the top left-hand corner. Now you can see I've grouped by incoming calls. Here's the incoming calls, and then once you're through with the incoming, you go into the outgoing calls. You can also have nested groupings. So if I wanted to, I could then come over here and take calling party. I could also drag this up to the left. And now I'm grouped by direction and then calling party. So in my example here, you can see if I were to look at my outgoing calls, here's 3 outgoing calls from this extension, 1 outgoing call from that extension, 1 outgoing call from this extension. So again, interactive in terms of how you build this layout for viewing. But perhaps the most useful part of the cradle to grave is your ability to very easily search on any of these column headers. So let's say, for instance, just to use an example, I wanted to see all calls to a particular hunt group, HG short for hunt group. I could start typing call, and it's going to filter out my call to that hunt group. Okay, so if I were to break this down, you can see on February 23rd at 8:42 a.m., we had a call that was 2 minutes and 13 seconds in duration. It was incoming from this is my cell phone, my cell phone into the Call Suite Live Hunt group. We do report DNS, so you can see if I were to scroll over here to the left, this is the number that I dialed. Okay, and then I selected the option to go. I hit an auto attendant in my case. I selected the option to go to the Call Suite Live group. Now, if I'm going to bounce back over here to the left, now you can see what's happening from a high-level summarized viewpoint. But if I come over here and click next to this, this is the level of detail that we're going to be able to provide for you. So you can see that this caller called in. They hit the queue for this particular hunt group. The call was routed to and began to ring this extension. This extension answered the call, talked to this customer. You can see there was 1 minute and 6 seconds of talking time. So original calling party spoke to 2167. After 1 minute and 6 seconds, you can see that call was put on hold in order to transfer it. So this call was actually transferred from 2167 down to 2222, just a different extension. And now you can see there was 55 seconds of talking time from the original calling party to this extension. So once again, you started with this very high level summarized view of this call, and you could drill down into every step that call took as it progressed through the system. So this is a very popular use of the product. The other thing that you can do, what a lot of customers will take advantage of, is you can export this data out to Excel. Once you export it out to Excel, now I'm not as creative with Excel as a lot of our customers are, but I've seen some pretty elaborate ways to slice and dice this data. But the nice thing is you can still interact with it. So it still collapses these calls down to the summary row. Here's that call we were looking at before within the interface, but now I can click on this plus sign even in Excel, and I can drill into this. So if I made this a little larger, you can see you still have all the different call legs right here, even once you export this out into Excel. Of course, you can attach it to an email and send it to somebody if you need to see it as well. So that's Cradle to Grave. Again, it's an interactive tool. It's meant for, I'm looking for a particular call or for a particular group of calls. This is an excellent place to come and do that.
Dan, are the categories customizable?
They are not customizable, not by default.
So if a reseller needed something special for a use case, are you able to deliver a modified look so that they could see something that comes along, or add an additional column for additional detail?
So absolutely. For starters, the DNS, Andy, just to answer your question, DNS was not an original part of the SkySwitch Cloud Suite integration. We actually, Corey Stoker from SkySwitch asked us to add this, so we got it added for him. We're working with a SkySwitch reseller right now on a large medical customer with, I believe it was like 2,600 extensions. It's a nice size customer. And they had very specific reporting requirements. We actually wrote a couple custom reports. Now, the nice thing is, in many cases, these reports would benefit other customers. So once we write these reports, and of course, they can become part of the product, and other customers can take advantage of it as well. And so to answer your question, absolutely. We are more than happy to entertain if there's a need for a customer and the data is available to us. Now that's always the big question. You know, we need to validate that what that particular customer would be trying to accomplish is available to us through the interface that we have access to. In other words, through the API, can we get what they're looking for? The answer is yes, and we're absolutely willing.
Here's why I'm asking. Nathan Park says, when you utilize the groupings and filters and then do an export, does it export with the groupings and filters in place, or does it dump the raw data?
That's a good question. Right now, it's dumping the raw data. And we've been asked, so I'm not sure exactly who asked that question, Andy, but we've been asked that before, and that is on a development list to be addressed. Because a lot of customers will create these elaborate filters. You know, you can create these nested groupings, et cetera. But then when you export it, it exports it as a raw dump, and it does not maintain that formatting today.
Next question came from James Lavalle. Thank you, James, for your question. This is an excellent one. He wants to know, Dan, if there's a report on how long a call is placed in a call park queue or on hold at a specific extension.
Absolutely. So we will report. So if I were to go into reports, you know, there's a couple different reports you could run. This snapshot report tends to be a very popular one with customers. If I were to come over here and I'll just pick a date range to build this off of. Depending on the report that you select, you're going to have different parameter options. But this particular one, this is going to show by extension total calls, average and max handle time, and then total handle time. But then you can come in here. So if I were to look at, Josh had 91 total calls that he answered, I could come from here and I could click next to Josh, and it's going to open up the next level of reporting. Now, hold time itself, I know we know when a call is put on hold. I don't know that we get the duration. I'll look at that here in a moment. I don't know that we actually see the duration of the hold. But with this particular report, you're going to see, so Josh had 91 calls, but we now break it down by the type of call that he was a part of. So in my example here, Josh is actually in 3 hunk groups. He's in the help desk group, the main group, and the sales group. He can receive incoming direct calls. He can make outgoing calls, of course, and then internal or voicemail calls. But if you wanted to see the 30 calls, for instance, that came to the help desk, you could click on this and drill into there. I don't know to answer the hold. We do get park, and we do get hold. I don't know that we get the durations of those. So in other words, when I was looking at back up at the Cradle to Grave, where you could see that call was put on hold in order to transfer it, the duration wasn't part of that, just that action happened.
Next question comes from Mark Wasser, and this may be the most inventive question. And when I say inventive, because not only is Mark asking a really smart, insightful question about what Cloud Suite can do, but he's also presented a great idea for how the information can be presented. But now it's going to be on you, Dan, to tell him if it's a yes, a no, or something you can do. He wants to know if he can create a signboard for ACDQs and agent groups to put up on a TV monitor for all agents in the call center to see. Then he wants to know if he can have individual titles showing wait times, agent status, call traffic. And lastly, and this is where it really becomes a home run question, idea, opportunity for Cloud Suite, can those tiles have alarm triggers in the sense of if the queues hit a certain number, or if the wait times hit a certain duration, that all of a sudden the alarm bells go off?
So that is very excellent questions. And we have done all of those things through various applications that we've gotten to market with over the years. Today, keep in mind that now this is today. If we were to talk product roadmap, we are coming with real-time functionality into Cloud Suite. Today, Cloud Suite, as it relates to the integration with the SkySwitch API, is a historical reporting product, meaning we don't know what happened to a call until the phone call is complete. At the point the call is complete, we have access to it through that API. What that means is we cannot do for you today number 2. So when you talk about calls in queue, how long they've been in queue, agent status, is my agent on the phone, off the phone, who are they talking to? Through Cloud Suite today, with the SkySwitch integration that we have, we cannot deliver number 2. However, it is a roadmap item that we are working on. Number 1, you can do. Yeah, you could create. So when you say a signboard, I assume you're talking about the digital dashboard. You can create widgets that would be by group. So I had one. I believe I had one just as a dummy example. But any of the so I had my sales group right here, and I just put myself as the only extension as a member of that group. But you can certainly create hunk group breakdowns or agent breakdowns and get metrics. So here's another one. If I'm an agent, I can have metrics just on my calling activity. So you can create these dashboard items, and they are historical, but they're going to be updated real time at the point the call is completed. So as the day goes along, you continue to update.
We have another question from Gordon Beck, which ties right into what you're talking about. Sorry, Dan. He wants to know if full call center stats are available, such as agent stats, abandon rates, full queue stats. This ties directly into what you were just talking about, which is why I wanted you to address it right now.
Sure. No, so another good question. Abandon rates, absolutely. So we have reports that'll show you. Let me just come over here. I'll run a call summary report. Go back again. Just I got good demo data from back here, so I tend to use this. But run this report. So you're going to have by group. So you can see here's my main group. You're going to know how many calls were presented, the number answered, the answer percentage, the number abandoned, and the abandoned percentage. And then you get other metrics as well. But then you could drill in, and from there, it breaks this data down by day, and then you could drill into the day and see it by hour. So you do get that. What you're not going to get is anything, the agent. Andy, help me out. What were the other parts of that? The agent status?
Well, I think the first question from Gordon was full call center stats, agent stats, abandon rates, and queue stats.
So yes, we get the agent stats. There are a number of reports that you can run off of this. I mean, you could run, if you wanted to, for instance, see a service level report. We'll do service level answered by agent. So once again, this is going to show you by hunk group, but it's also going to show you by member or agent of that hunk group. So you could definitely get these metrics through this product. So I'm going to go ahead and run this report. So once again, it's going to show you by hunk group on the left, number of presented calls, and then I didn't define my service level, but you can define a service level. So 14 were presented, 13 were answered. I should have put a service level to show you how many were answered inside or outside of service level. But once you drill into any one of these groups, that's a bad example because there's only one agent. Then it breaks down the activity by agent. So once again, you had 13 answered calls for the hunk group, of which 13 of them were answered by extension 2167. And if you wanted to, then you could drill into that particular agent and you could get the details of all those calls. So you do get full call center metrics. What you don't get are, we're not going to know logged in time, logged out time. We're not going to have agent state reports because it's not a real-time application. And then we're also not going to be able to show you. So I'm very familiar with the questions that you're asking because like I mentioned, we have solutions in other arenas that do these things. But you're also currently, although again, it's a roadmap item, it's coming. You're not currently going to be able to see calls in queue, how long they've been in queue, agent state from a real-time perspective. You'll only be able to see it historically.
We got another question from Tom O'Fallon. What's the usual time frame on getting this rolled out to a new customer? Is there a reseller dashboard where we can view all the domains with the service and dive into the reports, or would we have to log in with domain-specific credentials?
So, good question. The first one is, I mean, basically, if we've never worked with a reseller before, we need the reseller API information, like client ID, client secret, username and password, etc. We only need that the one time. And then we need the client domain name. For every subsequent customer, all we need is the client domain name. So with that, to answer your question, we can literally turn one of these on. It's all hosted through AWS. We can literally turn it on once you send us that client domain name in a matter of minutes. And then within a half hour, it will replicate all of that customer's information, the extension numbers and names and hunt group numbers and names, et cetera. It replicates all that into that configuration, and the CDR data, the call data starts coming instantly. So the turn up is really a matter of minutes. As far as how you would log in, you would log into each one of your customers by domain. So in other words, you would log into each one of your customers individually.
Great. Why don't we dive into pricing? And then I know we're going to have Seth Berkman join us and tell us what's going on from the reseller perspective. And then we've got some more questions coming in, and we'll get to those after you talk about pricing. Okay,
perfect. Here's pricing. Again, simple. We really try to keep this simple. It's two-part numbers. You've got your base domain price. This is monthly, by the way. I probably should have had that specified on this slide. This is a monthly price. So it's $14 for the domain, and then it's just 35 cents an extension. So really, it's that simple. At list price, I will say, I get asked all the time, this is the suggested list price. We don't ever ask. Quite honestly, we don't really care. We hope that you can make as much margin positioning this product to your customers as you want to or need to make. This is just a recommendation. That's all.
All right. Well, why don't we hear from Seth? And Seth, you're a reseller. You've been using Cloud Suite for a while at BT Voice. Why don't you talk a little bit about what your experience has been with some of your customers?
All right. Thanks a lot. Appreciate it. So the story of how we got involved with Daytel is pretty interesting, because I have this one large customer it's a franchise, and I'm dealing with both the franchisees as well as the corporate structure as well, handling the phone needs for both sides. And this company happens to be like super data driven around everything that they do. And they were using the phone system, and they kept asking me, I need to get more data out of the system. I need to get more data out of the system. And so I talked to Jason Jones before last year's Vectors conference, and he said, you know what, I think Dan could probably help you. And so called Dan up, told him what we were trying to accomplish, and we just started kind of like a little demo, like a live demo on what I was programming and trying to figure out if I could get out of it what I needed to get out of it. And once I learned how Cloud Suite talks, like how the different parts of SkySwitch talk to Cloud Suite, you showed the hunt groups and everything. I use call queues and everything. I can see in the cradle to grave, I can see a call going directly from coming in, going through the different call queues, going into the individual store, going into the individual extension. I mean, I see everything that was locked away in our reporting in SkySwitch and you couldn't see. Now it all came to life. And this is exactly what the client wanted. They want to know, how long the phone calls are. They want to know why the customer is calling in, because each store has its own auto attendant with options, both automated and not automated, just to get to the right person. They want to know why the customer. They want to know why the customer is calling. What are they calling about? So they can match up the call recording with the actual reporting, and then put together the whole picture of, who is their customer, why is that customer calling in, how do we keep that customer, how do we gain new customers. So it's just data, data, data. Everything's data. So Dan's team has been phenomenal, helping me along the way. Started out, didn't know really anything about the product, and learned a lot over the last year. But mostly what I've learned is that Dan's team is super responsive when we had any kind of problems or a glitch or want to know more about a report. I mean, I've sort of integrated his team into my team. I have my clients contact them directly with support questions or issues, or just when they want to make a new report, because why be a middleman when you can go directly to the source, especially when the source is as responsive as Dan's team is. So all I can say is the demo was really good. It showed all the stuff that I use. And as a reseller, the thing that's most important to me is that we get involved with other companies who share the same values, of customer service. And I can attest that Daytel definitely does.
That's a great testimonial, and we really appreciate it. In the last few minutes we have, anybody, if there's any more questions, pose them in the Q&A. This has been a really insightful, very deep perspective on how resellers can get more from their customers in the way of revenue, but also help their customers understand what's going on over the telephone system. We've got about 4 or 5 questions piling in. First question from Ryan Warren. Do you have any marketing collateral material available, or is everything just up on the Daytel website, Dan?
So we do have marketing collateral, and it's generally all available up on the website. So Andy, I'm not sure what the best method for me to get that out is. I'd be more than happy to follow up with the members that have joined the session today directly. That's probably the best way to do it, but we could talk about that. But we can one way or another, we will get you the marketing collateral that you need.
The easiest way would be for you to create a reseller portal with a login and password on your site. Materials, you could also do a chat room, things like that, that's geared for them. Next question comes from Jane Brown, and this is another good one. Do all extensions in a domain need to be included for pricing, or can you simply specify a subset of the extensions?
That is a good question. It's another question that I get asked quite a bit, and the answer is all extensions count. Now, where you have, and again, I apologize if I'm going to use the wrong term here. I tend to think of them as sub extensions. I'm not sure if that's the proper term, but where one extension has multiple devices, that would only count as a single extension.
I think what Jane's asking is, if a company has, say, 500 lines or seats, but they really are only using 100 of them for call center operations, can they just turn on those 100 and the other 400 they don't get charged for, or do you charge them for all of the seats at an account?
We charge for all of the seats on the account. The API is going to provide everything. There's not a way to limit what the API provides. And accordingly, we license for the number of extensions on the platform.
Right. So you can do progressive pricing in order to make it, cost only using 100, not 500. That might be something you want to consider. Gordon Beck has 2 questions. I want to combine them together for Gordon. Is the data stored on Daytel's AWS, or are they stored on SkySwitch servers, and how long is the data retained for? And then I'll ask his second question right behind that after you give that answer.
Okay, so sure. So the data is stored on AWS. And as far as retention is concerned, as long as the customer is still a customer, we will retain that data. We don't limit, you don't have, it's not a matter of like, we'll keep the last 3 months of calling activity or the last year of calling activity. As long as the customer is continuing to utilize the product and they're still a customer, they will still have access to that data.
Okay, his follow-up question was, is the pricing per extension reported on or extensions in use? I think you answered that by saying it's everybody. Or are extensions logged or extensions logging into the Daytel portal? From what you just said 2 questions back, it's you bill them for everybody.
Exactly. Yeah, that API that I was referring to, and those extensions, and then that's what the cost is based off of.
Sounds like you have a business opportunity, though, based on two people posing the question about can you get a subset to possibly explore being able to do a carve out of the entire number of seats. So where the domain would come in, then someone would just have to tick each extension one by one, as opposed to being a full suite thing. Another question from Gordon Beck. Do we contact Daytel directly, or is this purchased through SkySwitch? Go right to Daytel. This is not in your dashboard as a saleable item, nor in a SkySwitch store, but we are very happy with what Daytel is providing resellers. So please work directly with Dan Gordon, and he will set you up and get you going. Any last words, Dan? Is there anything you feel we didn't cover, or anything that the resellers need to know? We're at the witching hour. We've crossed the line. We're into an extra minute, but and we like to try and keep these to 60 minutes or less. But is there anything that you want to say about this?
Sure. So for starters, just to address really quickly the pricing thing. Obviously, Andy, I guess I'll just say that, working the partnership with SkySwitch and Daytel is, in the grand scheme of things, a newer partnership for us. We're learning every day. We're learning what your customers typically look like. While we continue to progress through this partnership, I don't ever hesitate. We're aggressive at Daytel, and I think that's why we've gotten along so well with our reseller community. We don't want you to lose an opportunity because of $5 a month or even $20. That's not what we're trying to do. We're here to help. We want to win business as well. So I guess the only thing I'll say is, while we continue to progress through the partnership and continue to sharpen the knives, so to speak, of how this all works, just give me a call, shoot me an email. If you have a configuration that's causing you a problem from a pricing standpoint, let's talk about it. That's not a problem. That's number
Dan,
one.
why don't you go to the last slide? It has your contact information so everybody can see it. We're also going to tell you that you may be a winner. If you attended, we're going to pick 3 lucky attendees. Always ask questions. That gives you, and it's like being in an advanced placement course. You get an extra couple of bonus points if you're asking a question. You get a SkySwitch swag pack, which are heavily in demand. Plus, from February 23rd through June 30th, Daytel will be giving resellers a chance to win a gift card based on how many yearly contracts you sign up. If you sign up 5 customers by the 30th of June, you'll get a $200 gift card. If you sign up 10, you'll get an extra $500 gift card. So Dan, if the person hits, this is a question about the prize. As soon as they hit 5, do you send them a $200 one? And then when they hit 10, you send them a $500 one, 200, then 500, and they can possibly get 700, or is it just 500 for hitting 10?
So the idea is, in fact, that if we'll pay the gift card after June 30th. So the idea was, if you sign up, at the end of June 30th, we look at how many you've signed up. If it's 5, 6, 7, you get 2, or if it's 5 or more, you get 200. If it's 10 or more, you get 500.
Okay, one last question that came in from Nathan Parks. He goes, I probably missed it. Does Cloud Suite also store recordings of the calls, or only call records? I thought I heard something about recordings, but I didn't see that in the demo.
Okay, so another good question. Today, it is only the records. The call recording is coming. There's 2 different, it's a different API. There are 2 things we're actively working on. That is real time, to be able to show you calls in queue, agent status, etc. And also the ability to integrate the call recording. It will likely integrate it into the Cradle to Grave. That's where we've done it with our products in other arenas. So we'll likely integrate the recording into the Cradle to Grave. So you'll search for it there. There'll be an icon. You'll be able to click on it and play it back. It's coming. Stay tuned. We'll definitely keep you posted. Okay. So with that, I'm going to say thank you, Dan. Thank you, Seth.
thank you, Erica, because Erica Vasquez is the person who really makes me sound good and makes this look so good. She does incredible work at pulling together all the facts and information, and then works with our guests to really deliver the right information to you. If you're a reseller, Dan's contact details are up on the screen. You can get a hold of him at dlemke at datel-group.com. You can visit their website at datel-group.com. You can call him. Yes, he does answer the phone, folks. 724-940-5150. Again, 724-940-5150. Make your customer's life smarter, better, and easier. Hook up with Dan, get all the 411 you need on Cloud Suite, and make your life easier too. I'm Andy Abramson on behalf of the entire SkySwitch team, and of course, Dan Lemke and his team at Daytel Group. We want to say thank you very much for tuning in, and have a great week.